people tell us they're not really excited about filling out the assessment. It's kind of hard over and over to answer questions about how you see yourselves. We actually asked you the same question 25 times in a row. How much red, blue, green, and yellow do you have? Our scale is least to most, which is really just 0 to 6. And that's the way your bar graphs are measured, 0 to 6. Anytime you answered least, that word pair selection was given a 0. Each time you answered most, you were given a 6. We tallied up your responses, averaged your answers, and it produced the graph called your conscious persona. Your conscious persona is the person who shows up when you're thinking about your behavior, aware of your interaction with others. We often refer to this as your game face. The other graph is your less conscious persona, or you in your pajamas. It's you sitting home on a Saturday morning, having a cup of coffee, totally relaxed. That graph is actually the most authentic representation of who you are, because you haven't moved into consciousness yet and thought about the person you want to be that day. It's just you when you're unaware of how you're showing up. We actually shift back and forth between these graphs multiple times throughout the day. What's interesting is that most of the time, brain science says about 95% of the time, we're interacting with people in our less conscious persona, meaning you may not have any awareness about how you're actually showing up. If both your graphs are quite similar, in other words, you're not stretching out of your authentic self and putting on a game face to get the job done, then you're a what you see is what you get kind of individual. You don't change how you show up when you begin to act consciously. Or your graphs may be very different, meaning you're stretching yourself from less conscious to your conscious persona quite a bit. This isn't a bad thing, but for many, it can be very tiring. For some people who are stretching themselves significantly when they move into their conscious state of mind, they're energized by it rather than getting tired from it. And yet again, some people experience a combination of both feelings: tension, stress, and anxiety, and also thrill and excitement. We'll explore more about this now as we unpack the preference flow graph. That's the graph in the middle that helps us understand what each of you is doing to yourself to put your game face on. It's what you're trying to change about yourselves because you believe it's a better version of you to bring to the role that you play. Let's look at this image. This is a person who, when they're aware of their behavior, shows up as determined, competitive, purposeful. But then they decide it's a work day. They wake up, they look in the mirror, and they say, you know what? Today I'm going to be more analytical, cautious, precise, and make it a more deliberate day. I'm going to crank up my blue energy. And the end result is the graph you see on the left. They did push their blue energy up, but others still see more yellow. The middle graph is what you're making an effort to show. You're trying to show it. It doesn't mean that other people always see it, but you're trying to show it. If it's still low in the conscious graph, other people may not see it at all. If a spike goes up, you're trying to bring up the attributes of that color energy. People may or may not actually experience the effort that you're making, though. If a spike goes down in the middle, it would suggest that you have more to give of that particular color, but for some reason, you're holding back using it.